And we're grateful to have you here on a Tuesday night, McFiles Tuesday night. Good to see everybody. We have got the one and only Magdalene Rose on the phone with us. We call her the Rose since she is that. It is good to see her tonight. Good to see everybody. We're going to be here for a little bit tonight with some videos, and we'll take your thoughts. We've got a poll question already up. And but it is good to have I call her my goddaughter. She knows I mean that very affectionately. She is that to me. Good to see you, kid. How are you doing? It's been a really wild week in the world, and even since we talked last, there's been a lot that's happened, and it's good to see you tonight. I'm sure everybody's excited to hear your opinion on a lot of this stuff. How are you, kid?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Well, it is my pleasure to have you, and you know, we're just grateful to see your. We don't see you tonight. We can hear your pretty voice, though. Listen, I want to ask you a question, straight up. The hostages are home. What has the reaction been among the young people, the young conservatives, about these hostages? And we'll get more into the weeds of the ceasefire deal itself. But what was your thoughts as a young lady in your mid-20s about watching these families? Because a lot of these hostages, Magdalene, were people your age. A lot of these were young men and young women, and it was very touching, was it not?
It was, and I think part of it is because it's been going on for so long. It's kind of like an evolution ending to it. But the flip side of that is that this deal brought peace to Israel. I don't think it necessarily brought peace in the same level to the Middle East. So Israel is still on quite high guard. And you mentioned like these people are my age. The idea that Hamas went in and took over like IDF areas and took soldiers, that was never the case. They walked into a civilian music festival and civilians in their home and abducted them and killed them, and that's the truth of it. So like they can spin whatever narrative they want. This wasn't like Israel got back its soldiers; it just got back their people.
Right, and that's a good point. Did you feel like that there was going to be any kind of let me rephrase the question. It's evident 24 hours after all this is over with, this peace deal that was signed in Egypt, it's evident tonight that Hamas is really not serious, because the dead bodies, only 4 of the dead 28 bodies have been returned, and they're claiming they can't find these bodies, which I don't believe. But Trump issued some pretty strong words to them today. Scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most likely, 1 being the least. How does this ceasefire last, and does it last?
I don't think it will last, and I think people have forgotten how this started. Like, it was not as if Israel decided to invade Gaza one day. The Hamas, and in many ways with collaboration with the Palestinian people, organized a mass terror attack on Israeli soil. And they did it unprompted. There was no conflict happening. If anything, there were more normalized relations. Saudi Arabia was considering really normalizing with Israel. And Hamas didn't want that to happen, so they wanted to plunge the Arab world into chaos. That's why they did it. They did what is equal to the amount of people pretty much that we lost on 9/11 in Israel, which is even more because Israel has such fewer people than we do. So if you really think about it numbers-wise, the idea that Israel is going to be attacked like this and then not do anything is ridiculous. And this is my issue with the people who have become not just anti-Israel but anti-Jewish. And you can tell the difference. They've really become wrapped up in this nonsense. They act as if Israel has no right to do this after what we did in response to 9/11 or what other countries do in response to terror attacks there. This ceasefire won't hold. It will hold for as long as Trump is, I think, in office. Because Hamas, we know from the reports from hostages that were there, Hamas was terrified of Trump. They wanted Kamala Harris to win. So it will hold for then. But if there's ever a Democrat president, they're going to go right back to what they're doing. Why wouldn't they at this point?
That's an excellent point. No, excellent. And we sort of said the same thing last night about the hostages telling the media today that very thing, that they were hearing conversations that Hamas was not stupid. They knew good and well that they were basically cornered with Trump in office. They really had nowhere to go except do what they did and agree to give up the hostages. You know, speaking of the voices you mentioned, do you find it hypocritical when you hear people like Candace Owens and Tucker and even Margie Taylor at Green Now. Matt Gaetz is another one that has joined the course of this, and there's other influencers out there. But when they say things like, well, we don't necessarily hate the Jewish people, but we hate Israel as a nation, and we don't like Bibi. In other words, if Bibi wasn't in the picture, we wouldn't feel this way. And I think that's a fallacious lie. I do not believe it has anything to do with Bibi Netanyahu. Magdalene, to be honest with you, I know Bibi's not a perfect leader, but Bibi has stood in the face of this terror. He's been fighting a war on 8 fronts. And I heard one commentator mention, it may have been Mark Levin, who I respect a great deal, and he said he's literally become the Winston Churchill of the 21st century, because Winston Churchill stood against fascism in Germany when the Americans sit on the sideline. Well, Bibi Netanyahu is right there in the theater. He's not doing this from across the ocean. He's having to deal with this right there in Israel. And he's having to lead a nation and protect a nation. And, your godfather here believes that he's done a pretty daggum good job of doing that. That's just my opinion.
I think what has happened in Israel in terms of the American sentiments is nonsense. They say this about Bibi Netanyahu. He wasn't in power for several years before October 7th. There was a left-wing switch-up in government, and Naftali Bennett was prime minister.
Right.
So if you're going to say you dislike Israel, they hated Israel then, too. And this idea that you just hate the state of Israel and you want it to dissolve, where do those Jews go then? What is the plan then? And they act as if it's so reasonable to hate Israel or to think that it's an apartheid, which it isn't, and that it should be dissolved. So you're going to dissolve the homeland of millions of the world's most sought-after, hunted people? Where do you think they're going to end up? Just on a numbers level, if you're against immigration, you should be against dissolving Israel, because they'll end up in the United States. It's one of the only safe havens, somewhat safe havens, for Jews in this world. So they're going to end up in the United States, which then you're going to complain about. Because they can't go to Arab countries. They'll be destroyed. They'll be murdered. At very least, they'll be ostracized. So if you're gonna be against Israel, then that's just going to lead to endless immigration here.
Well, common sense never does take hold of these people when they're saying this crap, because that's what it is. It's crap, and there's no common sense behind it. I mean, there just ain't. Well said. And do you think that Candace is making any inroads with the young people your age? Do you think that how is she being viewed in the young conservative movement right now? Is she getting traction, or is this insanity sort of driving people away from her in your world?
Well, the problem with Candace Owens is that she does this thing where she then focuses on a pop culture story, like the Blake Lively stuff. And so people get confused by her. They pay attention to her pop culture stuff, and then they get sort of roped into the political stuff. Candace Owens is in a very bad position for herself, because she was Charlie Kirk's right hand, not assistant, but they came up at the same time. He very much helped launch her. She could have had the real keys to the kingdom in terms of American politics. And then she went crazy, and she became this rabid anti-Semite, and she started worshiping Kanye West. And Charlie Kirk at the time, Kirk at the time was like, I'm not worshiping Kanye West. That's crazy. And so now she keeps professing that she was Charlie Kirk's best friend. She was so close to him. And what I think is interesting is that his actual closest friends, people like Tyler Bauer or Andrew Colvett, they're saying none of that is true. She didn't even know Erica. The idea that she was Charlie Kirk's best friend but had no relationship with Erica Kirk is ridiculous. It's just not possible.
I know you saw I watched a good majority of the ceremony today with President Trump. Today's his birthday. We want to just say, to the memory of Charlie Kirk, happy birthday, Charlie. I got my hat on tonight. Got it in the mail today, actually. We are Charlie Kirk. Came at a perfect time. And to honor him tonight, because today would have turned 32 years old, and President Trump honored him today. In fact, he did something that no presidential Medal of Freedom honor has ever received. He engraved a cross on the medal to honor his faith. But Erica, had some touching, very beautiful words for late husband, and those children. But Magdalene, I say this about Erica Kirk. Do you think that it would help? And this is not a criticism, but I think it would help if she came out herself and set the record straight on a lot of this stuff, because I think her silence is all it does is fuel more talk, unless she's scared of Candace, scared Candace is going to go scorched earth on her, and maybe she's still not at a point she wants to deal with that right now. But what's your take on that? I mean, has she said enough to counteract some of the stuff, or she thinks she's letting the surrogates do it and hope that will calm it down? Because it sure don't seem to be calming it down. It just, every day there's a new conspiracy out there about what happened to Charlie Kirk. There's something new every day, it seems like.
Well, I think she's not in a great place. And people are like, well, she smiled during a 40-minute podcast interview. And the idea that we're saying that she can then contend with what's happened because she was okay for a few minutes is ridiculous. And I saw that across conservative social media. The truth is, Erica Kirk is in a state of her world being disrupted on such a massive level that the people who have used this moment to make it harder are like abhorrent. And we had Tyler Bauer and Andrew Colvette, who are sort of running Turning Point now, along with Erica, and who have known Kirk for 10 plus years. We had them come out and say none of this is true. This is not the reality. And one of the things Candace was doing that I found particularly despicable was she was trying to convince the world that Charlie Kirk was becoming a Catholic. He wasn't. He was not becoming a Catholic. He took his children to Catholic churches because he wanted them to see the types of beautiful structures that Christian leaders and builders could build. He talked about that. So she tried to convince people of this. And it really blew back at her because a lot of Catholics he knew came out and said, that's not true. That's not right. I think at that point, if Erica didn't say anything, she doesn't have to now. Because now if she pushes back against Candace, it's just going to look like she's been pushed to do it. That would have had to happen earlier.
Yeah, well, that's Cleo's in the house, and that's one of the things that she sort of alluded to me, our dear friend, and she said that that's how it would be framed. Because, see, what they're saying is that Israel was responsible for his death, Netanyahu was stabbing him in the back, Charlie was not happy with Bibi. I mean, again, it just one thing leads to the other. Candace is out there claiming that Trump and Bibi have concocted this genocide, that the Gazan genocide is as bad as the Holocaust of 38, and just making all these crazy accusations. And if she was to say something, I don't disagree with the fact that it would probably be said that Israel controlled her to do it, Israel made her do it, because that's sort of what she's hinting now. I don't want to stay on Candace Owens. It's not about her tonight. But does she just strike you as a drifter, a grifter? I hear that term. I saw that term tonight on a few X posts, and I've heard others say it. She just is grifting off the death of a man. I don't think you can get too much sick than somebody that's been assassinated, and you grift off the assassination to make points and get shares on your videos and your social media. That's pretty sick to me.
Well, it is sick. And the thing is that, and Eric Bowling explained this very well recently, he is on the Turning Point board, has been for years, was one of the first people to introduce Kirk to big names within conservative media on Fox. And he explained it very well. He said about 5 or 6 years ago, Candace and Kirk really separated. And they were not close. And this was about the time where Charlie got serious about Erica. And he got serious about not getting into sort of like celebrity nonsense. And I criticized him very heavily for when he was courting the Kanye West world and trying to get Kim Kardashian on his side. It was all ridiculous. But he pulled back from that a few years ago. And Candace didn't. Candace just did not pull back. She continued to be weird. She continued to be involved in it. And I think she genuinely has been brainwashed into some very weird things. There's a lot of reports about who her husband really is, what they do, the fact that her husband bought and sold Parler to and from Kanye West for no real reason. So what she's doing now, it's not just grifting in my mind. I think she's part of a group of people who have a concentrated effort to really spread like Jewish hatred in America.
So you think this goes beyond Charlie Kirk, that there is a push. Do you think Margie Taylor Greene is part of that, and Tucker, or is that just a Candace thing?
I think No, I think Tucker absolutely is. I don't know if Marjorie Taylor Greene. She plays a lot of different sides. It's a little bit difficult to nail her down. Yeah, it's a little back and forth. I think that Tucker and Candace profess to be very strong Christians. And yet, if you look at the funding for Tucker Carlson's network, the money was donated by a very devout Muslim man. Money he did not have to take because he's very independently wealthy. So when you look at the seed money for their projects, it's always Arab. And I think it's odd that you have seed money for major media organizations in the United States that then shift to being anti-Jew funnels for content. And then we see them trying to get politicians to abandon Israel, to abandon Jewish leaders. That can't be a coincidence.
No, that's exactly what they're doing, because they've basically I would say lassoed Megyn Kelly to a degree. They've lassoed Marjorie Taylor Greene for sure. Not Megan's a politician. She's not a politician, but she's another media person, and they've definitely done Matt Gaetz. I was shocked when I saw Matt Gaetz go down these holes. But Magdalene, I have to tell you, there's been a lot of dear friends of mine personally that when I talk to them about this, there's a fog on people's minds. And I want to just say this to you publicly, and I said it the other night. I want to tell you, kid, how proud I am. You just do not know how proud I am to hear you espouse these views, because I can't get adults. Not that you're not an adult, but I can't get people that are your senior to express these views, and to hear it coming from you at your age, it really makes me very proud. I mean that, because it's very few out here that are doing it with courage, and I want to give you kudos for that tonight, kid. I want to move on to a few other things while I got you. The shutdown continues. I tell you, these Dems, what was the old saying? Some people, when they say act stupid or say something stupid, that some people take it as a challenge. I think the Democrats are they're taking it as a challenge to look stupid, to try to fund the government or stop funding the government because they want money given to illegals and WASP research in Rwanda or something crazy nutcase, loon case stuff like that. What's your thoughts on that? The Republicans had better not cave on this. I'm going to tell you something. It's going to be political suicide if they give in. I would not give in. That's just me.
I wouldn't give in either, and I think that the truth of this is that the government shutdown really has become irrelevant. It's become a thing where we're talking about it because it matters in the grand scheme, but we're not going to talk about it in detail. And that's because it's irrelevant. Like, Trump's not going to open the government till he gets what he wants. Democrats know that. Democrats are pretending that isn't true. But if you're Donald Trump, you've learned from the last election cycles. When we had the government shutdown 2018, in that time period, Trump was afraid. Paul Ryan also gave him terrible advice and didn't educate him properly on what a government shutdown really was. This time around, he's also not dealing with Nancy Pelosi. He's dealing with Hakeem Jeffries, one of the worst congressional leaders we've had in like generations.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Do you think that Schumer loses ultimately in this more than just losing the shutdown? Do you think AOC is actually going to be a senator from New York this time next year, come November 26?
I think it's possible. I think the Democrats created a monster when they allowed AOC to take power. They really did, because she's full of herself and she pretends not to be. And she's also just good enough at social media to make it seem like she's an everyman here. She could be a senator from New York, and then she could be Senate Majority Leader. And the truth is, they deserve that. If that happens, they deserve it, because we have kept our crazy in the Republican Party at bay. We've done that. They haven't done that, and now they have to pay the price for it.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Did you hear Obama today whining that the country rejected him and Michelle's values, and Trump is not doing anything to follow his values? And I wanted to scream into the camera, that's the idea, jerk. That's why we elected Trump in 2016, because we didn't want Hillary, because she would follow your values. And we put him back in office because we sure knew Kamala was not going to follow Trump's values. She would have followed his on steroids. But what do you think about this whining and him not being able to give Trump credit for this Middle East peace initiative? And I've got a poll up tonight. By the way, you Facebook folks, our poll tonight is who should get credit for the Middle East peace plan, the Gaza ceasefire, Trump, Biden, or Obama. Corey Aguilar mentioned, and she's right, that the Democrats out there tonight, they're trying to give Biden credit for this I mean, I just, the stupidity and level of stupidity and ignorance of these Dems, as the late Wyatt Earp used to say, or Doc Holliday, my hypocrisy knows no bounds. And theirs just don't know any bounds, do it?
Well, no, and I think Obama's frustrated because Obama had decided that he knew how to tell people how to live. And Americans really rejected that. Like, I know we laugh about it, but when he swapped out certain types of light bulbs and started telling the American people what kind of electrics they could have in their home, not because of safety, but because of the environment, the visceral rage that created in the American people then lay dormant until 2016, because we didn't get our rage monster in 2012. If we had, that person would have won. We didn't get someone who could tap into the rage and tell us it was okay. Trump got elected because he told us the rage was okay, and that not only was it okay, that he got it. He understood why we were so upset. So Obama's frustrated because literally everything Obama did has failed. I mean, every day Trump tries to figure out another way to destroy Obamacare. Obama's entire Middle East foreign policy agenda failed. He's a president without a legacy in the worst way possible. And then, like, the idea that Biden was responsible for the hostage exchange, I know why they're saying that. When Hamas took the initial group of hostages, in the first 2 rounds of hostage releasing, they let out about, I think it was 107 people or so, and it was the people that Hamas had taken that had dual nationality. So if you had, if you were Russian, Israeli, whatever it was, Biden got those people out. And also, other presidents got their people out. There were people from France, everybody who was French. Macron made it very clear, as a leader within the EU, I will obliterate you. You will let my people out. We got Americans out. So when they're saying that that Biden got in all these hostages out, that was just a time game. Trump got Israelis with no other passport and no other allegiance out. That is a miracle.
Well said. No, that's a perfect, absolutely 100%. And that's exactly right. Let me ask you this, a couple of all questions. It seems that Trump is headed for a showdown with Pritzker and Johnson in Illinois. There's a story out tonight, very disturbing, that there's a China-based group along with leftist Antifa's members that is putting bounties, literally, Magdalene, on the heads of ICE agents. Pritzker tonight is threatening to arrest ICE agents. He's threatening that if he gets elected president in 28, that he is going to jail Trump officials that have done this. How is the Democrats, how do they do this? How are they so successful in projecting what they're doing back on Republicans, back on conservatives? Because I hear this stuff to the point I want to open this window in front of my house and bomb it in front of my community when I hear the statement, Trump is destroying the rule of law, when that is all that Merrick Garland, that Eric Holder, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and these left-wing guys, that's what Pritzker's doing. He's actually doing this. And Brandon Johnson in Chicago, these sanctuary cities, they are trampling under law our Constitution. And they're framing this in such a way that it makes it seem like they have turned ICE agents into the devil and the rapists, murderers, pedophiles, and the traffickers of the illegal community. And they are illegal. That in itself, they're criminals. They're making them out to be Boy Scouts and Mr. Rogers. How do they do that and get away with it? Because they sure do a good job of it.
Well, they have the media in their back pocket, and also people want to believe that Trump is bad, and they cash in on that. You know, the thing with Pritzker is that he is a complete nobody. He is in a Democrat superstate. He has never been in a competitive race in his life. He is unattractive politically for anyone to invest in. He is a nobody, and he leads with rage because it's all that he has to get people talking. You contrast that with someone like Andrew Cuomo, for example. So Andrew Cuomo is just as hateful towards Republicans, but the difference is that Andrew Cuomo has his own brand, so you sort of forget it in the midst of everything else. Pritzker doesn't have that. If Trump wants to go into Illinois and put the entire thing under martial law, he will do it. It doesn't matter. And this is what Democrats have to understand this time around. Trump's not trying to get reelected. He can't be. Republicans are in a pretty good position for the midterms, especially after Charlie Kirk was assassinated. There's not this despotism to have compromise. We don't want it. And Elon Musk used to have this thing in his bio where he said the people voted for major reform. They did. So if Trump goes in, puts Chicago or Illinois as a whole under martial law and brings in the military, the people, the general people, not the base in Illinois for Democrats, but the people of this country, they're okay with it.
No, I agree. I agree, and it may be what he's about to have to do. But this is my opinion. I'll ask you this: do you think that what Pritzker is doing, if he's aware of these bounties and Johnson, is that not illegal behavior on behalf of this governor and this mayor? I think they should be arrested. I think Pam Bondi should step in, Magdalene, and do something. I don't know what her delay is, and Trump has even expressed a little frustration with her about this J6 stuff. They drug their feet a little bit. We do have indictments now against Letitia James and James Comey. There's a heck of a lot of other ones that need to be indicted for criminal behavior. And it just seems like, and I know justice goes slow, but I think that there's enough ample evidence they should have by now that why are we waiting? You ain't got nothing, as you said, we ain't got nothing to lose. It ain't like Trump's running for re-election right now. Let's clean house.
No.
Let's clean house.
No, I mean, I think Pam Bondi is a complete letdown. And we're now like 0 for 3 or whatever it is with the Attorney General. She is a letdown. Going after Letitia James is also not rocket science. She's a dirty person who's done dirty things. This is not groundbreaking. James Comey is a perpetual liar. We all know that. The people she's gone after, there's such a paper trail. None of it is particularly difficult prosecutorial work. And I find that frustrating. The position of Attorney General this time around should have gone to a vengeful person who knew where all the bodies were buried, who wanted to make a change. Instead, it went to somebody who likes to hang out on Laura Ingraham and make comments about what she might do in 2 years' time.
Yeah, I mean, I wish you'd just stay off Fox News. I do. I mean, I just get off the television, do your job, and so forth. What did you think of RFK Jr.'s wife today? I thought she held her own on The View, and of course, I'm still waiting for the Farrah lady to put the MAGA hat on. I doubt that ever happened. Not that I really care ultimately, but they are a bunch of hypocrites. I swear. They are just a bunch of hypocrites that say that they're going to do something, the left, and when it comes to pass with Trump, they just get amnesia about it. But they were really trying to, and Sonny Holston is a disgrace because Cheryl Hines, and chances are, if me and you sit in a room with Cheryl Hines and she told us her views on life, I've got a feeling me and Magdalene Rose probably wouldn't agree with 60 to 80% of what she believes because she is a Democrat. But she had some class today to go on The View to let them interview her, and all they did was basically disparage her husband, both with his character and Holston even sit there with a straight face and said he's the worst qualified human and health secretary that we've ever had, and then does not mention that we had a trans health and human secretary, before RFK Jr. The Bidens put somebody that didn't even understand whether he was a man or a woman. What say you?
I think she went on there just to show that she could. A lot of people are talking about him as a possible 2028 runner, and they wonder whether or not he could be at the top of the ticket. It depends on where America is. If Trump really makes America very safe and we're focused on domestic issues, that could be a conversation. It could be a VP conversation because he would definitely bring a vast majority of independents and sort of like very hyper aware of health issues, moms and things. So he's somebody who delivers much more than even just a swing state. And I think that Democrats know that. The problem Democrats have is that the people who voted because of Bobby Kennedy are Democrats. They are. They're not people who are Republicans. They voted because they want answers on vaccines or health or whatever it is. These are not Republicans. Republicans are more likely to go along with the status quo than the people who voted for Trump because of RFK. And that's a hard thing for them to contend with because they have to constantly understand that they can't upset the people who voted for RFK because it's their own fan base. And Sunny Houston is one of the most twisted human beings. She's so bitter and she's so filled with liberal hatred to the point where I think even the other View hosts are like, okay, it's enough. We get it. Trump bad. Can we talk about something else?
Yeah, I'll agree. And but I thought it was embarrassing the way she acted today toward RFK's wife. I felt like it was, even for the View standards, was pathetic. And look, I've always said this. I said this to you one night way back when we were talking about his cabinet. Of all the cabinet members, I think RFK Jr. has done probably one of the best jobs of all of them, because he's had to do it in the face of this very thing from his Democrat family. And Cheryl Hines is an actress. She's in Hollywood. And she has basically been blackballed. There have been actors that have come out and said some of the most grotesque, horrific things about her because of him. And they do it to help the country, and they do it in the face of all that. And I respect him for that. I do. And, you know, like all the cabinet members, none of them are going to be perfect. But I have to tell you, I give RFK a tip of my hat. I think he's done a pretty good job, great job, to be frank with you, trying to keep these harmful things out of our food and do the best for the country. And he's right about these vaccines, Mac. That's the thing they were trying to pin her down today. Joy Behar was claiming that he was killing the country. He was going to kill people because he didn't see the danger of the vaccines. And they always frame this like, well, the American people are really scared that you don't see the danger of us not taking vaccines. And the truth of the matter is, the majority of Americans don't feel that way. A majority of the Americans are probably like me. Keep your needles to yourself. That's just me. What's your thoughts on that?
The vast majority of big health issues that we have in this country that are not chronic or diseases come from illegal immigrants crossing various borders filled with disgusting diseases that we didn't have in this country. I mean, we had a tuberculosis outbreak in New York City. That's ridiculous, because Haitian immigrants came here illegally or were sponsored or whatever they did, and they were not inoculated against it. Nobody is against the polio vaccine in the mainstream of America, or TB. Like, that's not the truth. What happened here is that because there was an upsurge in people bringing in these kinds of things like Ebola and whooping cough had been eradicated completely in the United States and most Western countries. All of a sudden, about 2 years ago, it starts pouring in all across the country, primarily in New York and also in Texas. We know that there was a tracing back to a certain group of Mexican immigrants or illegal aliens who came in with it and who never reported for any type of checkup. So when that happens, you can't tell people, accept the endless immigration and the things that come with it, like the sickness, but then also tell people that they must take all the vaccines you've designed to treat those sicknesses, because naturally people go, well, did you let people in so we would get sick so you could have a new round of vaccinations?
Yeah, that's a good point. And I hope RFK sticks to his guns. I hope he doesn't bow to this pressure from the left. I think he's on the right path. And look, I'll be the first to tell you, I've never had a vaccine in my life. My mom and dad vaccinated me up as a child, and I remember to this day, I don't know if you took it. I remember that cube of sugar, because I remember I was probably 8 or 9 years old, maybe younger, and they said, we're going to give you a vaccine today, and I started crying before I even got out of the house. I said, I don't want a shot. I was scared of needles even when I was a kid. They said, no, this ain't going to be a shot today. You're going to it's going to be a good kind of vaccine. And when they handed me that sugar, I remembered in my mind where I was standing at when I took it. And I was so thrilled that I got to eat a cube of sugar without knowing it was, poison at the time. But no, seriously, I hope that he sticks to his guns on this. I think the country needs to the way I look at the vaccine is a freedom issue. People want to take it. If you don't want to take it, don't force it down our throats. And that's where I think that he is doing his best to keep that freedom in place. But I will ask you this. Do you think that Fauci's going to pay for all of this mess that he pulled on the country at all? Do you think that there's any hope that we're going to see justice for him?
Well, if he doesn't, then Pam Bondi is a complete disgrace, because it's going to come down to her decision about that. It's going to come down to whether or not she wants to pursue charges against him, and it's going to be her in collaboration with different Senate committees. But it's her who will make the ultimate declaration or choice. And the position that he got, this perpetual pardon that covered everything he did, that's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous statement. And I think the Trump legal team, especially with the revelation that Biden was using auto pens, which you're not supposed to do for pardons, I think with that we can make a real case to figure out what he's done, or even what he's done in the immediate post moment of that pardon being issued. At the end of the day, Fauci has to at least be seriously questioned. And also, someone has to explain why he was given in the Biden administration, even in a post-COVID world, because by the time Trump left office in 2020, we were at the end of it. Why in that world Fauci was given unparalleled access and power within the federal government.
I'm with you 1,000,000%. Julie, I'll address your comment a little bit more later, but I will say what you're saying is technically true, but I disagree with the sentiment behind it. When you say Kennedy's other policies are too liberal, he's the only solid on the health issue. Well, the thing is, Julie, that's what Trump hired him for, and Trump even himself said that. He said, he told RFK when he brought him into the cabinet, he said, don't be expecting me to change my views on abortion. You just do the health stuff. Let me handle the abortion issue. Let me handle, the hot potatoes. So Trump was very aware of that, and I think all of us out here are aware. And I just said that to Magdalene long ago, that I don't think if we sat down in a room with RFK and his wife Cheryl, we would probably agree with 60% or 70% what they believe socially and morally. And, it's okay with me because I pray for him in that area. But as far as what he's doing and the courage that he's having to show in face of the opposition that he's getting from his own family and the Dems and people that hate his guts because he's helping Trump, I have nothing but respect. I have nothing but respect for him. I think that's a fair statement, don't you, Mac? I want you to put your political hat on for me real quick as I wrap it up. Thank you. I know it's late for you and I need to get you out of here, but I want you to put your political hat on for me for a few minutes. We got 3 big races that are coming up. We've got the Attorney General's race in Virginia. We got the governor's race in Virginia. And we've got this monstrosity election in New York City that it does not seem that Cuomo is making he's making a slight move to shorten the gap between Mandami and him. But, Mag, we're about to put a Marxist, communist, jihadist, Jew-hating, anti-Semite in power in New York City. But what is your thoughts on those 3 elections? It seems like the debate, and New Jersey, I want you to talk about New Jersey, the governor's race there, because those races may give does these governor's races ultimately tell us what's going to happen next year? Or are they isolated? What's your take on that? Give me your political take on that tonight.
I think New York Mamdani will win, and that is because no one could get Curtis Sewa out of that race, and no one could get Cuomo out. If this had been Eric Adams versus Mamdani, we would have had a shot. It could have been done because he could have been elected by enough of a coalition. The not getting Andrew Cuomo out, it's split because that's the Democrats' fault, and Curtis Sewa is our fault. So we both hold blame in that case because I think Mamdani is part of the Democrat Socialists of America. He's admitted that it's almost a separate party structure. So we both hold blame for that. And then the issue with Virginia is that the Democratic Party of Virginia is one of the slimiest, rudest, sneakiest parties in this country. No, it is. I lived there for quite a while. It's a very bad system. They will allow each other to get away with whatever they want. They'll allow people to say things like, I want to murder people's children. They'll allow comments like Governor Northam made. The lieutenant governor can wear blackface. It will go on, and they just won't resign. They have a commitment to staying in like I've never seen before. I think Democrats are at a disadvantage, though, within Virginia. So I think that the governor race, for example, Republicans, although Winsome Sears is a good candidate, I don't know if she's as electric as Glenn Youngkin is. Glenn Youngkin is a dynamic politician who was shortlisted and was the runner-up to Vance. People don't realize that. At the end of the picking, it was Burgum, Vance, and Youngkin, and then Marco Rubio sort of took himself out of contention because he knew he'd be getting Secretary of State at that point. So Youngkin is somebody who is such a high political phenom. I don't know if Winston Sears can bring it home. And Abigail Spanberger, see, what's frustrating to me is about this is that I started calling out Abigail Spanberger years ago because it was very clear the trajectory she was taking to try to get to the highest levels. And she is a progressive lunatic.
Yes, she is.
This woman's not a moderate. She's never been a moderate. She won a swing district in Virginia several years ago, several election cycles ago. And when that happened, Republicans should have poured resources in the next time to get her out because then we had a Republican advantage. We didn't do that. We had a hands-off policy with her. It's led to where we are now. Someone could have stopped this politically a long time ago. And then finally in New Jersey, I think the takeaway from New Jersey is two things. People have had it with the immigration. They've had it. There's also this other thing that's happening in New Jersey where the Indian American, meaning like Far Eastern Indian community, they're legally, have small businesses, many in medical and legal. That community has been growing in New Jersey. And it's become very powerful. A lot of young Indian couples get married. They move there. There's job opportunities. It's a peaceful community. No one's afraid to walk down a street is what I mean. The integration's been perfect. And those people, although they may be slightly socially liberal, they are fiscally conservative. So when people are saying, why are we seeing so much of this switch happening now? Why is this occurring in New Jersey? I think a lot of it has to do with the influx of young Indian Americans who can vote. If we win New Jersey, I think a lot of it has to do with that.
Do you think that those tweets by that attorney general are going to be enough to get him out of the race, or is that one of those things the Democrats just don't care about?
Yeah. They don't care. No, see, this is the problem. When people were saying, I don't understand how this could go on, literally any other state, he would be out of the race, but not Virginia.
Isn't that amazing to you, though? Is that not shocking that would not be enough to disqualify somebody?
Not if you've lived in Virginia. Like, honestly, not if you've lived in Virginia. There were so many local scandals and things. The Virginia Democrats just don't care what you think of them. And that makes them very dangerous.
When you lived there, was that blue district up there near Alexandria, that is sort of like the New York City of New York, isn't it? I mean, it controls the whole state, don't it?
It does. And the other part of this that's a problem is that Liberty University several years ago was a real mecca of strong conservative outreach. And so that went out very quickly, and that became a place where people were no longer as engaged, and that was an issue when Falwell had his scandal. Liberty switched from being a very active political process place to being somewhere that was much less so, and that's been a problem.
Amy Miller, good to see you tonight, dear. Has you on my heart today, actually. Good to see her. She's got a great question for you before you leave. Pam Bondi, if Pam Bondi's replaced, where would Magdalene turn to? Who do you think would make a good replacement for her? It's not a bad question. Excellent question. You there?
Can you hear me? Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you now, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think for that case, I would go with somebody that's not everywhere. And I think that the problem for Trump has been that he has picked people who are like, do you know what I mean by like professional legal people? They're out there on the news. You associate them with stories. They're not these lawyers that get into the nitty gritty of this. When Barack Obama wanted to put Merrick Garland in the Supreme Court, that was a wise choice because he was able to get, before Mitch McConnell laid down the gauntlet and prohibited it, he was able to get a lot of Republicans to support Merrick Garland. People forget that because Merrick Garland was not somebody who lived on cable news. There was not this digital trail for him like there were with other candidate options. Trump has to pick somebody who's literally not that interested in the cameras. Bill Barr, I think Trump thought was going to be that person. And then Bill Barr started living on Hannity. And we realized that was not the case. I would just like to see somebody obsessed with the law and justice for once.
Amen. No, I couldn't. That is an excellent point. And I think that is part of Pam Bondi's problem, is Fox News. And I think that she tries to appeal to the television audience of the conservative movement and doesn't do her job. And I'm with you 1,000,000%. Is there any names that you would suggest?
Not particularly. I think the only choice we could have had that would have been public would have been somebody like Matt Gaetz, and that ship, especially with his recent Israel shift, has really left the possibility.
Has that shocked you with him?
No, because I know a lot of young conservatives who work for him and have worked for him in Congress, and this is not, like, the level is surprising, but the trajectory has never been surprising.
Okay, that's interesting. So you don't have any suggestions, because my mind goes blank on anybody right now. I tell you who I think he should consider, and that's Elena Haba, the one that defended him with the court cases. Do you think she's qualified enough? Would she be another Pam Bondi, you think, if she got in there? What about Judge Jeanine? I mean, is the same issue with the TV? Too much TV exposure?
Elena Haba would be worse. I think she would be so overwhelmed by that job that she would live on TV. I mean, Judge Jeanine's doing a great job as a prosecutor, but that was what she loved to begin with. So she's not. The difference is Judge Jeanine is naturally charismatic and naturally someone people listen to. She doesn't need television to fulfill that. When she walks into a room with her assistant ADAs, they sit up and listen. And I think that Pam Bondi really struggles with that.
Well, I know Judge Judy hates Trump's guts, but what about Judge Judy?
I would skip that if I was him.
I was going to see if I could get a cheap laugh out of my goddaughter tonight before she left the show. We'll have to think about that one. I could go get my law license, but by the time I got my law degree, Trump was going to be long gone, so I can't do it. It's not enough time, because I clean freaking house. Let me tell you something. I light a torch to Washington, D.C., and I think there'd be a lot of people I think that's what we're wanting, that we want somebody just to light a torch to this whole thing, you know? And I don't think it's a bad idea. But anyway, Ken, you've done such a great job again tonight. I'm going to give you a few minutes. Final thoughts. And I just want to say again tonight, we're proud of the fact these hostages are back home. I know you are too. And is there a lot of sympathy in the younger community toward these hostages legitimate? Do you think that these kids are recognizing the enemy here? And that's a good question I should ask you. Is it morally clear to your generation who the perpetrator was in this and who the victim was? Mm-hmm. Because older adults are having a problem with that. There's some people in the older adult world that does not understand that. They have no moral clarity whatsoever. I'm just curious if the young people get it. I hope you do.
No, they don't. It's worse. It's worse where if you are somewhat pro-Jewish people having a homeland, then you are suddenly bought and paid for. And Matt Gaetz contributed to that recently with his statements about AIPAC, which AIPAC is denying, and other members of Congress are denying, and only Matt Gaetz is saying it's happened. I think we have a problem now where if you are not really truly anti-Jew in this Republican Party, then people think you're bought and paid for, which is so ridiculous. Like, the idea that our enemy in life is the Jewish people it's absurd. But yet Republicans have got into it on such a level that they are basically saying we're closer aligned with conservative Muslim countries. I don't know about you, but I am not closer aligned with a conservative Muslim country than I am with the Jewish people.
Couple of names coming out of the chat tonight. I found it pretty interesting. Ted Cruz wouldn't be a bad one. What about Ted Cruz?
Yes, I would go with Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz is perfect because he's so unlikable, and everyone would be afraid of him. Mitch McConnell I remember Mitch McConnell saying, I think it was during the early 2016, it was like, Ted Cruz could be killed on the Senate floor and there would be no witnesses.
Wow.
Because Ted Cruz is so unlikable and he's torturous. And people always equate him and Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio was a terrible young politician. Like, the whole boy wonder thing, it never took off. It just didn't take off. It was not a vibe. No one liked it. And now, as sort of like this elder statesman that he's morphed into with all of his jobs, that's what we want from Marco Rubio. What we want from Ted Cruz is to be an unapologetic legal beast. If we had Ted Cruz or Mike Lee or Ted Cruz, the level of utilization of the Constitution to eviscerate leftist policies, it would be unmatched. I think Mike Lee's a little too mild-mannered. I would go with Ted Cruz.
I like Ted Cruz. I was just, when I saw it, I thought to myself, now Mark Robinson was mentioned. I'm not sure who that is. Maybe I'm out of the loop myself a little bit, but Do you know who Mark Robinson is?
I think that's that Florida congressman.
Yeah, I don't think I think Ted Cruz is the
Yeah.
odds on. How long does Trump stay with Bondi? I'm just curious what you think. Is it end of the year?
It's a mess. I mean, he won't. I don't think he'll do any switch outs, barring a massive problem before the end of the year. Pam Bondi has really been a letdown. I mean, not even just on the things we're talking about. I mean, even with prosecutions of cartels and things, she's been slow to do that.
That's very
so
true.
I really don't see. I don't see the great obsession with Pam Bondi. I think what happened was that Matt Gaetz was going to come in and sort of like the knight who was going to destroy the deep state and everything, and then Kevin McCarthy in a funny turn of events, because Matt Gaetz got rid of Kevin McCarthy, and Kevin McCarthy swore a blood debt against him pretty much. Kevin McCarthy went to RNC donors and spent that whole week poisoning Matt Gaetz' nomination. And the thing about Kevin McCarthy is he is a viper. He is a nasty man. I never want Kevin McCarthy to consider me an enemy. So when he was I don't, it's terrifying. Like, I'd rather Donald Trump was mad at me in some ways than Kevin McCarthy. So when that went down in flames, I think Trump looked around for people with a law degree who had some experience, and Pam Bondi was literally just the only option.
That's interesting. Well, I think that our audience is on to something tonight. I hope President Trump's listening. Not that he probably is, but that'd be a super choice. Would you feel confident they could replace Ted Cruz's seat with a Republican in Texas, though?
I mean, I think so. I think we're on an upswing, especially because of immigration. You have to run a really strong candidate and hope very much that Democrats continue to run Beto O'Rourke for every open seat there possibly is.
Yeah, that's true. Do you think we're going to keep the House and Senate next year?
I do. I'm not in this panic moment. Other Republicans are. I think the House is always much more of an option for Democrats to take. But the side note of this is that Hakeem Jeffries, aside from being a completely lackluster, unable politician in every way, is also a terrible, committee organizer. This man has failed repeatedly at getting people over the threshold. He's failed at fundraising goals. He's an abject failure in every way, shape, or form. And if you look at the things that he has championed, first of all, there are none, but for the few that there are, he champions health care and the same 5 social justice warrior virtue signals at any given time. So that's what's happening. And Chuck Schumer is literally afraid of AOC becoming a senator. So I can't, they're so disorganized. I hope Democrats have to deal with what we dealt with in the 2022 midterm election night results.
I will leave it on note with you tonight that it is a shame, that all these Free Palestine people that have been screaming free Palestine now have got to thank President Trump for freeing Palestine. There's been abject silence on the left, Mag, since all this has happened. It's just like they got lockjaw all of a sudden, isn't it? I'll let you wrap us up on that.
Well, it is, and I think the Free Palestine thing, the thing with Free Palestine is Palestine was free, and then their leaders committed mass murder in Israel.
No, that's right.
This, and everyone's well, but people of Palestine have been under siege. Your leaders committed mass murder literally one weekday, and then took over 200 hostages, took the mother and 2 boys who were murdered by Palestinian civilians, the Bibas family, then put the wrong woman's body in her coffin and gave it to her husband, who was also a tortured hostage. The idea that there's a victims here, I don't understand why there's a victims. If your people vote for leaders that then commit mass murder and terrorism, you must deal with the ramifications of that. If Donald Trump suddenly committed mass murder and did all of these things, as a voter, I aided that. I participated in it. Yeah. The ramification would fall on me. How Hamas didn't realize that, I will never understand. I heard just one thing. I heard an interesting story. I don't know if it's true, but I heard that at the time there were some young Hamas leaders who kind of wanted to ramp things up, and they were the ones that pushed forward with the attack rather than the older ones, and the older ones didn't necessarily know. And to me, sometimes I think it reeks of that, because the lack of follow through and a plan is so giant that now all that's happened is we got our people, Israel got its people back, massive loss of life, that's true, and Gaza is destroyed. So really, what was all of this for?
Nothing but hate. And they're killing each other now because there's actually a genocide going on tonight. The Gazan people are being slaughtered by Hamas. They're killing their own. And I saw a post tonight that said, in what he was saying was that when they don't have Israel as their enemy, which Israel's always their enemy, but when they're not fighting Israel, they'll kill themselves. And that's exactly what they're doing. That is exactly what the Arab world is doing tonight in Gaza. It really is. Kiddo, I cannot tell you how proud I am of you.
Well, the Arab world in general also aided in a lot of this. We know that Qatar and Iran funded a lot of the terror. We know that went on. And I think one of the problems here is that Trump has to cut off the money. And if you notice, he really praised the Turkish president Erdogan, who I think pretends not to speak English, because there are moments where you see him speaking English and then he pretends he doesn't know it. So Erdogan has been one of the people that Trump has really used to facilitate the ending of the constant flooding of money. I think if he can do that, it will be a good thing.
One quick question, not to keep hanging on to you, but you just bring other questions up when I'm thinking about. Do you trust any of these Arab nations to do the right thing? Do you feel like ultimately that they're going to be, because it's almost like the fox protecting the hen house, and maybe next time I have you on, which will be soon, maybe we can talk about the weeds of the peace deal itself, because we're out of time tonight, but I'd like to get your take on that, because I firmly believe that Qatar was behind the funding of October the 7th. And Iran definitely was, but I think Qatari money was too. And I think you nailed it. And I don't trust these Arab nations no more than I can throw them, and they ain't too far.
No, and I think that one of the problems we have is that this anti-Jewish sentiment has been bought, and people don't want to hear that. And I say that to young conservatives often. Your hatred of Israel has been purchased, and that's just the truth, because the vast majority of conservative Christian young people in this country were not rabid anti-Semites until about 2 years ago, or even a year ago. That's when it started to expand. So you're going to tell me that was a natural expansion, but that just happened one day. And when you say that, they say, well, you're paid for by Israel. No. Sometimes you can look at a situation and say, who does this benefit? Widespread hatred of Israel in the United States and abandonment of the Jewish people. Who does that benefit? Arab states and bad actors, including Iran, the number one state sponsor of terrorism. If suddenly Israel is forsaken, all that's going to come from that is the Arab world growing.
Yeah, I'm with you, kid. Mark Robinson was running for governor. That's one of our audience members pointed that out. I remember now who he is. And I still like Ted Cruz, though. I think Ted Cruz would make an excellent attorney general. I tell you what, it wouldn't be boring at those Senate hearings, would it? I thought that she, held her own, but it turned into a mudslinging match. I mean, there was really no substance to anything. And I know that a lot of that's the Dems, but I think that it's a growing issue. And, Corey Aguilar pointed out a while ago, the statute of limitations, is about to run out on some of this stuff. And I'm wondering if they're running the clock out. And if that happens, I think it's gonna come back on Trump's doorstep. And I hate that. But he's got to put some fire into her to get her to do her job. I just do. All righty. I appreciate you coming on tonight. I know it's getting late, and I'm just so proud of you. I mean that. And I will have you back on next week or the next, buddy. And listen, I love you. And you've just hit a home run, a grand slam again tonight. Great stuff, and I appreciate you. And I'll be in touch with you, okay?
Yep, thank you so much for having me.
Always, kid. God bless. Much love. See you now. Magdalene Rose, everybody. That is my goddaughter. If there was a way I could do it, I'd adopt her tomorrow. I tell you what, I am so proud of her. There's not too many kids her age that express the understanding of Israel like she does. And I could just hug her neck for that. I'm telling you, to listen to it come out of her mouth at that age group, we got a jewel in Magdalene Rose. And that's why she's on the McFiles. We got to see her this summer, and that precious angel of hers has grown up. Last time I saw Magdalene, before that, she didn't have a baby, and it was weird watching her as a young woman now with a child. It was good to see her mom and family, and but I've always been deeply proud of her, and just to have her part of this show and this network is a joy. And I just super proud of her tonight. I want to just say that. Didn't she do a good job? Put some fire in that house. Put some fire in that house for tonight. Roger, you said I should have a show fully explaining the Abraham Accords. It's simple, Roger. That's easy. Land for peace. Pay the Arabs money to come sit down and claim they love Israel. And they don't. They don't. But anyway, we'll think about that. We'll think about that. Let me do this. Let me get some of your videos. I know a lot of you have been putting comments in the chat, and that's fine. We're going to get to all your comments and questions. We're going to go another hour, not another hour. It's been an hour and 10 minutes, maybe another 25 minutes or so. And I tell you what, that was so good tonight. Yeah, we've just been going right at an hour, so we got a half hour. I want to do this. I'm going to come over to our screen where we do our videos, and I'm going to join you over here. We had Branko over here last night, and let me get that off. And didn't Tony Branko and Jason Miller do such a good job? I tell you, we've had 3 jam-up guests, guys, back to back to back to back this week already, and it's just Tuesday. And man, oh man, oh man, Magdalene did a wonderful job. Very proud of that kid. I want to show you some video tonight and talk about a few things. It is Charlie Kirk's birthday, and it was very powerful to watch the event today where he was granted the Medal of Honor, Presidential Freedom Medal. By the way, this is that medal I was talking about, and you can see that there's a cross that is implanted on that. That's unique. That's not something that they've done for anybody. That's Erica right there. And that was to highlight his faith. And that's the Presidential Medal of Honor. And well-deserved by a fine young man. He would have been 32 years old tonight. And sadly, his life was cut so very short by an assassin's bullet. And so forth. Very, very tragic. I want to just do a little potpourri of videos of some of the hostages' families. We wanted to do this last night. I didn't get back on. I was a little worn out yesterday on Monday and didn't make it back for the night show. But it gave me some time today to really download some things. And I want to show you this right here. I think of all the videos that I saw yesterday, I was pretty strong. I knew it was going to be an emotional day for watching these reunions, and I was so happy, and just you felt that tug of your heart to see these families reunite, the husbands with the wives, the sons with the mothers and daddies, the brothers with each other, friends. This one right here got me. This man right here was actually captured too. And he was hurt, evidently, and he had been in physical therapy trying to be prepared should his son, who was kidnapped with him, come back. And this is him right here. And let's watch the video. He's trying to learn to walk. That's him trying to learn to walk. And this is him yesterday. He was in a wheelchair. This was the video that got me. I pretty much lost it when I saw this one. And get your tissues ready. This is him seeing his son yesterday when his son turned the corner. 2 years, folks. 2 years. 2 years. This is another one. This family did not know that their son had survived until yesterday, and they walked into the room. They didn't even know he was alive till yesterday. Here's another video. This may be some of the same. I think this may be the same family. I'm not sure. No, it's a different family.
ברוך אתה אדוני, שהגיענו לזמן הזה.
Powerful, powerful. This is the father seeing his young girls again. Seeing his young girls.
אני כבר מצלמת אותך, אז תגידי משהו.
כן, הכל יהיה בסדר. אנחנו עוד נזרח, והאור על שמעבר.
את מי את מציירת? את מי? את אבא?
הכל יהיה בסדר. אנחנו עוד נזרח, והאור על שמעבר. עלינו ייפתח, ונאזנות כוכבים בעיניים. המלכה רבה, מי זוכר פה את שמה? עומד צועק למלאכים בשמיים, עם אמהות תפילה.
הנה, פצ'וצ'קה!
Those girls were reunited with their daddy yesterday. They were reunited with their father, and the family provided that. That was on X. Beautiful. I thought we had a video of them actually coming into the room with them. This is a little collage of some of the faces that was repeated so often yesterday, and so forth. You know, it's a shame, folks. I got to say this. It's a shame. It's a shame that you got people out there that were not rejoicing with that they were actually sad for the Palestinians. They were sad for the Hamas terrorists that they felt like was, or the Gazan people they claimed that was such a genocide. Let me just say it like this tonight, point blank. How can I put this gingerly? You just about have to have a heart as dark as a piece of coal not to feel something for these families. As I said, there's abject silence tonight. Silence. Nothing. No marches. No protests in New York City. Nobody screaming with Palestinian flags. Free, free Palestine. Palestine is still under the control of Hamas tonight in many ways. In many ways. Just absolutely under the control of these same butchers that perpetrated these evil acts against these people. This is another video I want to show you, or something. Where's this one at? This may be what is this? I think we've showed the ones I wanted to show you. I do want to talk about this. This was a Muslim today bragging about what happened on October the 7th and what their real purpose was, and why it's important to us Americans. Listen to this.
Celebrate the victory. Allah has shown the world that no normalization can erase the Palestinian cause. When you got the news that it happened, how many of you felt the euphoria? Allahu Akbar. How many of you felt it?
Can social media also, can it wrongly skew a narrative?
Now, Candace Owens, she said on the Piers Morgan show, I was on the Zionist side. Let's not forget this, for years. Social media completely transformed my perspective on what's happening in Israel and Palestine.
Who? Social media didn't do it, Candace. I'll tell you what changed your perspective on the situation of Israel and Palestine. The devil.
Who were the people who on social media? It was you. Where did she hear the da'wah from? The da'wah was from you.
And I was astonished how quickly the narrative after October the 7th became anti-Israel and very pro-Palestinians stroke Hamas in many cases.
You want to amplify the argument, so you do shit, go Bismillah Hasanat, Bismillah Hasanat.
As a result of TikTok and social media and the like, people's hearts are genuinely flipping. Candace Owens.
What are your views on Islam?
How's it going in the UK? Those are my views. Their views are that Western civilization is corrupted.
Hi, American Muslim fan here. In the spirit of friendship between our faiths, here is an excerpt from the Quran. I think all of us are realizing the tremendous need for true faith right now.
The Quran told
Candace Owens with no true faith if we drew it far in crayon. And I don't mean to be ugly or rude tonight, but what she's exhibiting, folks, is not true faith. Neither is what Tucker's exhibiting. I heard Magdalene talk about them professing themselves to be strong Christians. They can profess all they want to be, but I'll leave it alone.
told you Tucker's heart can be flipped.
My core belief is that the Islamist movement, this is an existential threat to the Western way of life.
This was them just a few years ago. And it's like that whole thing has been flipped on its head. Roll the tape, keep rolling.
You know what Islam means? Submission. I don't think I'm against that, actually.
Marjorie Green Taylor, one of the nastiest Islamophobes that you can come across in America.
Anyone that is a Muslim that believes in Sharia law does not belong in our government.
She's now one of the loudest advocates against Zionism.
Israel is a foreign government that has been meddling not only in campaigns and elections, but also meddling in government policy.
It has power. It shifted an entire U.S. foreign policy.
A war with Iran is a world war.
Trump is looking at Tucker Carlson, who's saying we shouldn't get involved.
I think we're going to see the end of American empire.
They got mad about the Iranian strike. It really ramped up after we struck Iran, which really was the catalyst, folks, when you get down to it, for what happened yesterday. And it brought Hamas and the whole Arab world, they respected the strength. And President Trump tonight, folks, whether you realize it or not, I saw Bill O'Reilly tonight post something, and I thought it was absolutely square on. President Trump's the strongest world leader tonight in the entire planet. The political clout and the leadership clout that he has right now with the world leadership. It's not just about Gaza, it's not just about Israel, but President Trump has basically, what he's done, he's kept China out of the Middle East now. The Chinese were making inroads to affect and control a lot of these Arab countries. The Russians were trying to do it. And I'm going to tell you that all stopped. It all stopped in its heels yesterday to a degree. It already was stopping really since January, but it came to a halt. And now, because of this situation that was signed yesterday and him doing what he did to get both sides to cease fighting, it has made him the most powerful man on the planet. And I don't disagree with that. But something changed with all of these people after Iran. And roll tape.
Would like to see that, and this is a perfect way to scuttle the USS America on the shoals of Iran.
Candace Owens, we shouldn't get involved.
I do believe that if war in Iran is on the agenda, and that appears so, get dishonorably discharged. Who cares?
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
We're entering a nuclear war, the World War III.
It stopped Trump from intervening in Iran itself because we decided to tweet about it, because we decided to show because we decided to do da'wah at last.
Spin it as necessary, as a necessary response to October 7th. That takes somebody that is something other than human.
So I look and I think, I can't believe Tucker Carlson said that. I can't believe Candace Owens said that.
It is not my business to affect a regime change in Iran. If we're going to get behind a regime change, it should be in Israel first.
America's supporting Israel because it's an ally.
I don't know what that means to be an ally. Qatar is like one of our closest allies in the world. They're a close ally of ours.
Raise your voice and watch how I flip the hearts. Raise your voice for Gaza. Watch how Candace Owens starts defending Gaza.
I have recognized that the ability to see this stuff every day has transformed my opinion.
Raise your voice. Watch how I make Tucker Carlson say we need to cut funding for the Zionists.
Floating the whole thing to the tune of many, many billions. It's not 3 billion a year. It's tens of billions a year.
Raise your voice. Watch how I make American society.
Did you hear what he's saying, folks? Watch how I make. The Muslims are bragging. The Muslims are bragging that they've infiltrated these social media platforms to do exactly what these social media platforms have done. They become a voice for Allah. Not the Catholics, Zella, but for Allah.
Flip from pro-Zionist to pro-Palestine.
First time ever in which more Americans sympathize with the Palestinians over the Israelis. Truly a historic shift.
All of the blame. They always want to blame Israel. Zionism has brought us nothing but grief in America. We are aware of these operations that you're running and constantly blaming it on Muslims, radical Muslims.
Well, the Muslim population of the West is rising very quickly, and that has implications for social cohesion or national security.
I'm not Muslim, I'm not for Sharia law. On the other hand, compared to what? Compared to Baltimore? You know, shut up. Sharia law. They're claiming that Hamas is a, group of jihadis. I don't know if that's true, by the way.
Did you hear what he just said? They're claiming that Hamas is a group of jihadis. I don't know if that's true or not. I can't believe Tucker would actually say that. I think I'm going to send that clip to my brother, because my brother was defending Tucker the other night to me. And I love my brother. We have spirited conversations in the McDonald household. We're not afraid to disagree and scream a little bit at each other and then hug each other in the neck and ask each other, what you doing next weekend? You coming over to have barbecue with me? Where we're going next time we get together for lunch? So we can handle the disagree to agree to disagree thing in the McDonald household. We get that. I can't believe he just said that. I want to roll that back, and I want you to listen carefully to what he just said. He said, we're not sure. We're not sure if the Hamas people are Islamic jihadis.
Security.
I'm not Muslim, I'm not for Sharia law. On the other hand, compared to what? Compared to Baltimore? Shut up. Sharia law. They're claiming that Hamas is a, group of jihadis.
A group of jihadis. I
don't know if that's true, by the way. It seems more like a political organization.
That makes Israel the master of the universe. And that's troubling.
May Allah protect and preserve TikTok and elevate its status. Gulu Ameen.
And that was again, Muslim activists basically bragging that they have infiltrated our social media here in America. And anyway, Anyway, I'll leave that alone. Here is a British Parliament person today laying it on Kai Starmer and telling him to his face, you're just plain blank stupid. Roll the tape. I love it.
And it saddens me that the Prime Minister's statement does not appear to show that the UK was at the heart of any of these efforts specifically. It is quite clear that UK relations with Israel have been strained by the actions of this government. Their view, and they have stated publicly, is that it looks like under pressure from his own backbenchers, the Prime Minister has taken the wrong decisions, time and time again, diminishing our influence in the region. They can shout shame as much as they want to, Mr. Speaker. Within weeks of Labour coming into power, they decided to restore funding to UNRWA. We haven't forgotten. An organisation, they say yes, that's an organisation whose members assisted in the kidnapping of these hostages, the release which we are celebrating today. Relations with Israel have been so damaged that when Israel launched strikes against Iran, a country that has been a direct threat to us for years, the UK was out of the loop. They may not like it, but it is the truth. And then, in a move praised by Hamas, Labour decided to recognise a state of Palestine with no condition to release the hostages still held in the tunnels of Gaza, rewarding terrorism. They may chanter from a sedentary position. I will remind them of what the former British-Israeli hostage, Emily Damari, said. She called it a moral failure. I'm surprised to hear the Prime Minister say in his statement that it was a contribution to this peace deal. We all know that the US Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, condemned this recognition, saying it had made ceasefire negotiations harder. That is what the US said. The truth is, as historic events have unfolded in the Middle East, Britain has been out of step with the US. The US ambassador to Israel even called the government's claim that it played a key role in the ceasefire delusional, something Israeli foreign ministers agreed with.
And she pretty much told him, you're an idiot. This is Maria Salazar. She's a representative from Florida. She's from Cuba. She's got a warning. She has got a warning to you New Yorkers about Zoamar Mindami.
They're going to make a Democratic socialist the mayor of the largest city in the country, New York City. Oh my God, they are really useful fools, right? Because Mandani is saying, and he promised, everything free, including, listen to this, grocery stores who are in the hands of the state or of the city. Right, you know, we've heard that before. In Cuba, that was called the libreta de racionamiento, or the rationing card. And you know what really happens at the end? That there is nothing, ever, there's nothing, there's no groceries in the grocery stores that are supported or owned by the city. Because that is not the way human nature works. You have to work and then appreciate what you're given.
I'll agree with that. You New Yorkers, I hope you're listening up. I'm afraid you're not, but we'll see what happens up there. This is President Trump today giving Hamas a warning. That if they don't get these dead bodies back, even though it's a travesty they're dead, but President Trump let Hamas know today in no uncertain terms that there's a new sheriff in town. Joe Biden's not in the White House anymore. And he will deal with them directly if they don't want to disarm.
We have told them we want to disarm, and they will disarm. And if they don't disarm, we will disarm them. And it'll happen quickly and perhaps violently. But they will disarm. You understand me? Because everyone says, oh, well, they won't disarm. They will disarm. And I spoke to Hamas. And I said, you're going to disarm, right? Yes, sir, we're going to disarm. That's what they told me. They will disarm or we will disarm them. Got it? Okay.
What is the deadline you're going to put on that? You say quickly, sir. Sir, you say quickly, but what is the deadline you're going to put on that before you take action?
Pretty quickly. A reasonable period of time.
Reasonable period of time. I wouldn't be letting the grass grow under my feet if I was Hamas tonight. I'm just saying, I'm just saying I would not be delaying that too much. This is Trump. I think it's the same video. I was trying to see where he beat down the reporter today. I do want to say this. This is going to be a potpourri. Christiane Amanpour, I know some of you heard what she did. She should be fired. She apologized today for comparing Israeli hostages to average Gazans and admits the remark was insensitive and wrong. No, Christiane, it was evil. It was evil because what those hostages that we just saw reunite with their families went through, folks, the torture and the unbelievable things that Hamas did to them, and I got to get my glasses out because I want to read some of these things. This is from the Mossad commentary page. The latest deal was nothing more than a hostage exchange, and even that has already been breached tonight by Hamas. They refused to disarm. They refused to step down from power. They refused to return the bodies of the murdered hostages. Netanyahu tonight has ordered the Rafah crossing to remain closed, and humanitarian aid will be reduced. And now I guarantee you what's going to happen. The marchers and the protesters will hit the streets tomorrow basically screaming at Bibi. Not Hamas for not doing it, but they'll scream at Big Bibi. Predictably, the media will call this an Israeli escalation, but make no mistake, this is a response to Hamas's violations, not an act of aggression. The world may refuse to hold them accountable, but Israel will. And it sounds like the American government, I got something to say about that. I'm going to ask you about it in a minute. That may be our question Thursday night about U.S. military intervention. I want you to look at this. This is from Hen Mazig. This is an X account. Elkanah Bobat spent his entire captivity underground in Hamas tunnels, chained to the floor. Aviaton spent 2 years completely isolated in captivity, lost 30% to 40% of his body weight. Maitan Agress was given a medical procedure without anesthesia, which caused his condition to worsen. God knows what they did with that. Twins Gali and Ziv Berman were held separately and did not know they would be reunited for the release. Omni Moran was moved through Gaza 23 times and had to cook for his captors. Hamas terrorists lied to one of the hostages that his family had been killed on October the 7th to torture him mentally. Each testimony reveals a new level of Hamas evil and surpasses even the worst horrors that we thought possible. These men survived a horror movie, but it was no movie. It was their reality. And Christiane Amanpour was saying that it's just basically the same suffering that the Gazan people went through. She should be fired. CNN ain't going to do it because they're a pathetic network. This lady right here did not come back. This young lady did not. This was one of the deaths, and this was posted by Heidi Bakran. The only female hostage that was left in Gaza is not coming home today. Hamas hunted Inbar Hyman, surrounded her like hyenas, and murdered her. They dragged her lifeless corpse to hell tunnels, and now won't let her family have peace. They're monsters. This is one of the ones that they're trying to get the body back for. She's dead, and they've not released her body, one of many. This was our former president today, and I want to play this clip. I'm going to deal with this more Thursday night, but you got to listen to Barack Obama to add insult to injury. We've got all this wonderful thing, these wonderful things happening. By the way, that Nova Cafe I told you about, the one that they named Nova last night to basically disrespect the memory of the Nova Music Festival, where a lot of this, they changed the name of it. And that's a commercial for it. This is a commercial for it. They've no longer called it Nova. They've changed the name of it to Rafia Cafe because the world pressure got, the owners got the message that it was not the best name to name it. And that's enough of that. You get the idea. By the way, just my question, does that look like people were starving to death in the Gaza Strip? Does that look like emaciated Holocaust survivors there? That's a nice restaurant. It's a miracle, Esther. It's a miracle. It's a miracle that they found food. Oh my! They found food. This is Barack today. He is such a pathetic whiner. Minute 20, roll the tape. I'll let you listen. We'll talk about all this in a minute.
Yeah, we don't want kangaroo courts and trumped up charges. That's what happens in
except when Letitia James, Alvin Bragg, Fannie Willis, and Jack Smith are doing it. But when Trump is bringing justice to them, we don't want trumped up charges in kangaroo courts.
Other places that we used to scold for doing that. We want like our court system and our Justice Department and our prosecutors to be, and our FBI to be, just playing things straight and looking at the facts and not meddling in politics the way we've seen lately. And I think if enough people start not just being in a fetal position, but also not being just not work.
Is it my opinion, does he not look feminine to you? I swear. Good Lord have mercy. How did we elect a Muslim that's likely our first homosexual president? How did we put this man in office for 8 years? Please explain that to me.
Think about it.
I'm thinking out loud.
And detach from it. But being vigilant, but also saying, you know what? We can stand up to this. We can call it like we see it. We need people who have whatever platforms they have to be able to say, no, that's not who we are, and to be willing to get attacked on X by whoever for doing that, and it's not easy. Yeah, because sometimes you fear for your life. And
I can't believe that these people are literally saying you fear for your life. Are you kidding me? Are you joking me? The party that is putting bounties on ICE agents' heads in Chicago tonight, that's claiming Antifa don't exist, that assassinated Charlie Kirk, the party that has basically brought this country down to a place of lawlessness, and that's what Trump is fighting against tonight, but they're claiming that they're worried for their safety. You got to be joking me. You got to be joking.
Attacked on X by whoever for doing that, and it's not easy. Yeah, because sometimes you fear for your life.
That's such crap. But that's our president today, and this is the tape, this is the clip that you didn't see, where he talks about values. This is where he talks about Trump.
I mean, what was unusual for me was obviously a lot of what I represented. Yeah. A lot of what Michelle and I had tried to project, the values, our thinking about America. My successor seemed to represent the opposite. Right. Not seemed, did. Yeah. And so I think there was a lot of anger, a lot of sadness, some fear among a big chunk of the country.
Among much of the country. Folks, we got sound. If you don't have sound out there, it's on your end, not ours. We've got sound, I can tell. Let's see here. Couple of more videos here, and we're going to wrap this up tonight. We could play a lot more, but I do want to play. That's an image there. This video here is actually let's see, where did I do with that video? This is going up in Dearborn, Michigan tonight. Folks, we've got the largest mosque in the entire world almost that is being built tonight in Dearborn, Michigan. And this is the silence of the Dems on the ceasefire. After this, I'll take your questions. We'll pick this up Thursday night.
I'm a co-sponsor of the ceasefire resolution. This is not war. This is chaos.
We are calling for an end of this violence, not a break in the violence. The temporary pauses are not enough. We need a permanent ceasefire now. We need an end to the genocide.
That is why we are here, an end to this one-sided war. And
these were all voices on December of 2023, 2 months after Hamas attacked Israel, and they're calling this a one-sided war. This was 2 years ago.
End to the weapon sales and asking for a ceasefire. Ceasefire now!
And they weren't asking for the hostages to be released in addition to that. But anyway, Eli Lake from the Free Press wrote that the hostages return home and the lies fall apart. For the ceasefire now crowd, the end of the fighting has been a bit of a drag. While everybody else was very joyous, they were very quiet yesterday, Trey.
Yeah, and you know, quite honestly, I think President Trump deserves a Nobel Prize for doing something no one else has been able to do, which is get the squad to be quiet. The only one who said anything equated the release of Palestinian murderers with hostages who had to witness murder. The only member of the squad who said anything. So, look, everyone, Obama, Clinton, even Chuck Schumer, every reasonable person realizes this is historic. And what Donald Trump has done, whether you like him or you don't, but the squad's hatred for both President Trump and the Jews is so powerful, they can't even bring themselves to congratulate him for ending a war. It's really sad. I mean,
No, it's not sad, Trey. It's evil because we've elected these people to office, and it's not cool. This is a couple more videos before I go. This is Erica Kirk today. I want to just play her comments, and then one thing that Charlie said before he died, and then we've got some other video coming Thursday night. This is Erica Kirk today at the medal signing, and our prayers continue to be with her tonight and the family. Just had that video. What did we do with it here? Okay. Did we not have it? I know we had it. I'll probably find it. While I'm looking for Erica, I'm going to play you Charlie. This is Charlie giving you the gospel, folks. This is a faith show tonight. Well said, Charlie.
For those of you that are not yet believers, it's very simple. You're going to have a court date. We all die. And you're all going to meet the supreme judge of the universe. Justice is getting what you deserve, which is going to a not so good place. We're all sinners, and we all fall short of the glory of God. But thanks to the cross, a perfect, loving God who came down in human form, human flesh, lived a perfect life and died for us so that we can live forever. At that moment, we're about to get that sentencing into eternal damnation. Somebody says, no, I know him. I know her. Welcome to eternal life. You have an opportunity. The gospel in 4 words is Jesus took my place. 3 words is him for me. 2 words is substitutionary atonement, and 1 word is grace. Grace you cannot earn. Grace you do not pay for. It doesn't matter how much money you give to the hospital. You can't earn it. It doesn't matter if you're a good person. It doesn't matter if you have always done the best you can, because what's different about Christianity is that it's a gift for all of humanity to receive regardless of everything that we have done. And your life will be transformed. You will be born again. Grace is not earned. It is given by a God who loves you and wants to spend eternity with you. It is the most important decision you can make in your life. Here I am. God bless you guys. Thank you so much.
Well said. This is Erica Kirk today.
And before I close, I'll share with you that I asked our daughter what she would like to say to Daddy for his birthday. She said, "Happy birthday, Daddy. I want to give you a stuffed animal. I want you to eat a cupcake with ice cream. And I want you to go have a birthday surprise. I love you," is what she said. And while our son, he's precious. nauseous. He can't yet speak. In classic Kirk family fashion, his actions spoke louder than his words, and his gift to you, Charlie, and myself for that matter, was deciding to become the man of the house and be fully potty trained at 16 months. But Charlie, baby, I know that you're celebrating in heaven today, but gosh, I miss you.
And we all missed him. And even those of us that didn't have the pleasure of meeting him in person, his legacy, may his voice live on. He was a fine young man. And he's the same age as my youngest son, middle son, actually. And we celebrate his birthday today because we all are Charlie Kirk ultimately. That's on these front lines. One final quick clip. This is how you beat down a feckless media today. This is why we voted for Donald John Trump. If I was Hamas tonight, I'd be finding a local warehouse and I would be disarming. But if I'm the media in this country, I think you're being put on notice that Trump's going to make enough money off of you if you keep this mess up, what you've been doing, that he's going to be able to pay for the government to run on for the next 3 years. We wouldn't have to have the government reopen because you people are about to be sued again, especially you all but crap networkers. Both
ABC fake news. First of all, congratulations. I take questions from ABC fake news after what you did with Stephanopoulos to the Vice President of the United States. I don't take questions from ABC fake news. Brian, go ahead.
Yes, sir.
That's how you beat the media down, folks. That's how you do it. And I'm proud that he stood up for his vice president because George Stephanopoulos treated J.D. Vance yesterday in a very most unkind way. A very most unkind way. All righty. Now, you got 10 minutes. CJ, I love you, man. Them caps got to go. Type your stuff. Type your stuff in lower letters there, man. CJ says, I've heard ex-Muslims who have basically got out of their native lands in no uncertain terms, and we don't understand the mindset that we're making treaties. One of them was son. We've played the video of the Hamas founder, and we'll play more of that video. But CJ, you're right. We don't understand the culture. You know, I've been doing polls for a long time. We got 106 votes. I've never had people actually vote 100% on anything. On anything. And we got 100% tonight. I'm going to actually end the poll so we can say we had 100%. Man, we need to have a moment of silence for that. But 100% of you believe that Trump gets credit for the ceasefire. Carol, your question, if Hamas doesn't comply with any Arab nations, will any Arab nations that participated help enforce it? That, my friend, is a $1 million question. I don't know. I'm assuming they will. I think that, Carol, that the answer to that question will determine the depth of this peace deal. If all this is paper tiger and all this is just for photos and Trump to come home to tell everybody that the world's going to have peace in Gaza, then if the Arab world sits around and lets them not disarm, then all that has happened, over the last 2 years will be for naught. And I think the question that is nobody knows. I would hope they would. I would think that Turkey and Egypt will play probably more of the major role, because you got to remember the Gaza Strip belongs to Egyptians, and a lot of those Gazans came from Egypt, and they were Palestinians that came across the border. And so we'll see. That's an excellent question. I wish I could say they will. I don't know. I know Trump will. I know Trump will. Anyway, Cedric, you say Christie known for Attorney General. I wouldn't say that would be a bad choice. I'll have to ask Amy Miller about that, because Christie's from her state of South Dakota. She'd have to chime in on that. That's not a terrible choice. I like Ted Cruz myself. Let's see here. Any other questions? Zella, you said, do you think Candace and the others have been offered tons of money to change their minds. Zella, I would think that money has a little bit to do with it, but I think a lot of it is just Satan has gotten in their heads. And I think this spirit of anti-Semitism that has gripped this country, it's not just Candace and Tucker. Look, we mention them a lot because they're out there with the loudest voices, but this spirit, Zella, is in the church. This spirit's behind preachers and prophets and people of renowned faith and professing Christians and people that carry Bibles, big Bibles in their hands, and they'll sit there and look at you in your face without blinking and say some of the most vile things about Israel you've ever heard. It's almost like racism. Same people that tell you they love Jesus can't sit in the church with somebody of another race. I've seen that up close. I was at a church, I won't say where, but there was a couple, and the church allowed them in. They were black, and there was some people in that church that left the church because the pastor welcomed all races to the church and called themselves Christians. Well, it would be the same thing. I can guarantee you if Jews started coming, and really the Jew-Gentile thing is really what the church is supposed to be about, Jew and Gentile, one in Messiah. But you got Gentiles that if Jews came to their church, they'd probably get up and walk out. I think it's more than money. I'm not saying money's not an issue, but I think it's more than money. I know some people think it's her husband. Maybe. It may be. But it's not just Candace. It's not just Tucker. It's Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's Matt Gaetz. Stu Peters has been out there saying this stuff from the time I've seen Stu Peters' account on Twitter and X. This has been Stu Peters' platform, his message, his ideology, his theology, his worldview. So, Candace claims it was social media. I think it's more spiritual than that. I think it's more spiritual than that. Anyway, let's go over to our Facebook audience, see if we got any questions. Jenny, Chris, you say the New Yorkers have no clue what's coming. Chris, I disagree. I think that the scary thing about Mandami, you say they don't know what's coming. I think they do. That's what makes this even more hideous. I think there's a group of young people that may not understand socialism and Marxism, but it ain't just young people voting for him. Look, there's young people in New York. There ain't enough that he would be up 30 points in the freaking polls with less than a month now to go before elections. I mean, he's right now he's a prohibitive favorite. I mean, unless something drastically happens and Seawall gets out of that race, and I don't see that happening, I think I agree 1,000,000% with Magdalene Rose. It's the Republicans' fault, and it's the Democrats' fault. It's the old guard. It's the old elite party. People are sick of the Cuomos. They're sick of the Democrats. They're sicker of the Republicans in New York. And, the Fox newscast, they live there, and I listen to them talk about it. And it's not just the young people that don't have a clue. It's the old folks. And I think that your point is correct in some ways. I think when he starts shutting businesses down and taking control of grocery stores and taking control of apartment complexes and calling for Jews to be harassed and taking money away from the police, is already a crime hellhole up there. I think it will hit home. But as far as them not knowing what's coming, look, you'd have to be in Siberia. You'd have to be in a mental institution with your ears plugged, not to be hearing the warnings of what people's telling people what he stands for. He reminds me, and I'm not calling him Hitler, because I hate those analogies. I just hate when people do that with either party. But in many ways, it's the same principle of what the Jews heard in the 1930s when Hitler was screaming to the top of his lungs, if I get in power, I'm going to kill every last one of you. I mean, he wrote it in a book. He said the key to the world's peace, the key to the world's renewal is for the Jews to go away. And he blamed the Jews for everything. And he convinced the world the Jews were evil and vermin. And you dehumanized the human race. And the rest is sad history. But the Jews were warned to get out of Germany. They saw it coming. And many Jews stayed not thinking it would be that bad. I'll tell you this. If I was a New Yorker tonight, I'd be either putting my house up for sale or my business up for sale, or I'd be shutting down shop and I'd be looking down south somewhere. And New Jersey ain't going to be much better if this lady in New Jersey gets elected. It's the same thing. If the lady in Virginia she couldn't even condemn the other night during the interview. And I'm with Magdalene about Winsome Sears. I like Winsome. There's something lacking in the energy level with her. And I know she's got the right words, but her energy, she doesn't gender that hard enthusiasm that Glenn Youngkin sort of produced 4 years ago when he got elected. And that's what concerns me, because people vote on emotion. Chris, they vote on a emotion in New York. That's what this kid has done. He has garnered the emotion of the New Yorkers, and he's garnered these kids. He's garnered these socialists, and the Democrats think this is their Hail Mary. And Trump said today, he said, I'll cut every freaking federal dollar off from New York City if this kid gets elected. That he's not going to do what he's going to do with our money. He just ain't going to do it. And good for Trump. But it reminds me a lot of what Europe was like before the Holocaust, when Hitler, as good as said, I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and people didn't believe he would do it. The same thing's going on in New York today. I don't think the people in New York, Chris, your point in the sense they don't know what's coming. Oh, they know what's coming, but they don't believe it's going to come. I don't think they believe it's going to come. It's a good point. Yeah, he was born in Uganda, Corey. He was born in Uganda. He's not Cuban. He's from Uganda. Anyway, any other statements, questions tonight? Roger, you say America will pay deeply, allowing the Muslims so many strongholds. Roger, we're already paying deeply for it. We've got half of our Congress controlled by many of them. And many mayors, many cities are being overrun by it. And anyway, I'm sure it's going to get worse, but I think our nation's already paying a price for it. I really do. Let's see here, Corey, what values that Barack Obama is asking tonight? Well, I guess the same values that Joe Biden pushed for 4 years and Kamala Harris would have pushed on us. And folks, you better thank God every day. This is what I don't get about the Trump haters, and I don't get it about the Israel haters either. If Trump was not in office tonight, can you imagine how this whole Middle East situation would look tonight? If Trump was not in office, would you imagine what our border would look like still tonight? If Trump wasn't in office, can you imagine our economy? I know the prices in the grocery stores are still high. I went to get a few groceries yesterday, and I didn't buy much, but I paid much. And I think he's working on that. He's trying to get these tariffs in place to get our trade deficits down. And I've got a feeling his second year he's going to turn more to the economy and the nation, the domestic economy. But I look at the same thing with Israel. There's people out here tonight, folks, that believe that the Middle East would be a far better place without Israel in it. And I can tell you this, point blank, it would explode into a Muslim slaughter of Christians and Jews and anybody that did not bow the knee to Islam. And it would be the same thing here tonight. If Trump was not here, we would have the left basically making it impossible for your faith tonight to be exercised. And all these Christians that hate Trump, and all these Christians that post their little 666 videos, and all their little stupid tribes and their little stupid rants, and Trump's the devil, and Bibi's the devil, and Israel's the devil, and this and that's the devil. And everybody gives their little applause to it, and they put their little images up and all, and they think it's cute. And Trump's on the Epstein list, and all this crap, and Trump's the Antichrist, and Jared's the Antichrist, and all this. that same group that's saying all that stuff would be beheaded first in a Muslim society. They would be the first ones that would be beheaded. They'd be the first ones that would be put in jail under a left totalitarian government. It would be those kind of voices that would be silenced the first. They don't understand that because their mind is full of mush. But we better get to understanding it tonight. And I got about 5 minutes, so make it quick if you got something to say out there. If you got something to say out there, say it. Let's see here. Yes, Michigan is number 1 in Muslim population. Sue, that is correct. And it is growing every day. We played the video last night. Barry says, in your opinion here, have we gone too far? Barry, that's a great question, my dear friend. I think we're close. We are playing with fire. I think Magdalene said it tonight. She was so on fire tonight. Trump, as long as we got Trump in office, we got him for 3 more years. The tide, if we as the American people will take charge of our country, since we got a leader that is giving us that freedom to do it now, we may be able to pause it and to make it stop, at least pause some of that downward spiral. I don't think, again, we can predict what's going to go on in 2 years, and we sure can't predict what's going to go on in 3 with the election of 28, because the country is so fickle. People get impatient. I think of Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill actually got beat the first election after World War II when the country didn't need him, after what he did to stand up to Hitler and everything that Winston Churchill did for Britain. The Britons tossed him to the side like a piece of trash. And I think that it's a fair thing to say that this nation, the way our public is, the way our populace is that if I know people think the Dems are out tonight. I see that arrogance in our side sometimes, that, the Dems are not going to ever hold an election again and they won't win a thing. Don't be so foolish to think. And I'm not talking to you, Bear, but I'm talking to the public out there. But the Dems, don't believe that. Ask Cleo. Cleo experienced that in Australia. The Conservatives had a stronghold on government, and they basically caused the people of Australia to revolt. And they've got one of the most left-wing governments right now, and the left-wingers are digging in. They're digging in. Their election system's a little bit different than ours. It's about majority in parliament and majority in parties. But I'm going to tell you, I don't know. I will tell you this, Bear. If we get another Biden kind of president, then yes. I'm afraid that will pretty much tip things over to the place that God will ultimately have to respond to our nation, and I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that, and I don't think anybody else wants to see it either. It's a good question. Good to see you tonight, friend. It's good to see you. Zoanne, good to see you. Unfortunately, right, you're absolutely right. These people don't believe that they will lose their freedoms. They will lose their freedom. They don't believe it. They don't believe it. Zoanne says, Benjamin Franklin said, a republic if you can keep it. And the problem is, Zoanne, there is many tonight that are not fighting to keep it. They're not fighting to keep it. Look, what Charlie Kirk died for, he had the shirt on, freedom, the day he was shot, freedom. And, I've always said this. God has made us stewards. We're stewards of this freedom. This freedom don't belong to us. This freedom is what God has given the country. God has blessed this country. Charlie's message about grace. America, America, God shed his grace on thee. Crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. God shed his grace that we might be free for 2 things. That we spread the gospel because he knew that we would have the resources and that America would have the money and the missionaries to go through all the earth from our inception till this moment. It's sad tonight that the missionaries are now coming here because we've gotten so wicked that they have to come here. I got a dear friend, Vijaya. Y'all know him, most of you. He's in India. He tells me all the time that he looks into our nation and he sees the very sins of idolatry and the worship of Buddha and the worship of yoga and the Far Eastern religions. He said that y'all are doing it more there than we do it here in India, from where the source is. They're sending missionaries here. But the second thing this country was established for, folks, was that flag back there, and that's to protect Israel. And I know people don't want to hear that tonight. I know Candace don't want to hear that, and Tucker don't want to hear that, and Marjorie Taylor Greene don't want to hear that, and Matt don't want to hear that, Matt Gates. Stu Peters don't want to hear that, and a lot of other prophets and teachers and radio hosts don't want to hear that because they got this Israel binge. They got this Israel binge. I got to show you one little meme before we go tonight. This sort of sums up. It's not just Tucker, but this sort of sums up the whole anti-Israel thing. This is America, and we are America first. Now on with the show. And all they do is bash Israel for the whole show. Israel's evil. That's all they do. Let me tell you something. God established this country with a mandate that he knew that little tiny nation over there needed a buffer. Because if anybody that's got any kind of sense to them has seen a map, Israel's a little speck on the map, and you've got this whole sea of Arab hate around it tonight. God knew there had to be somebody to protect her. It was on America to do it. It's always been on us to do it. I know people don't agree with that, and that's okay if they don't. I'm on the right side of this tonight, and I know I am. And I plan to stay on it. But I will tell you this, our freedom is ours to either give away, throw away, or be a good steward of and protect it. And it's not on Trump. It's not Trump's responsibility. It's not on Congress. It's not on the Supreme Court's responsibility. It's on we, the people's responsibility. It's what Charlie Kirk died for. It's what Charlie Kirk died for. And it's what we had better be willing to die for too. But beyond our freedom is our faith. There's a lot of people that are conservative people, but they don't know Jesus. They know about him. They talk a good game, but they don't know the Lord. And this is more directed to Christians tonight as a close. They care somewhat that you're conservative. They don't like conservatives. The forces that be that want to see this freedom gone. They don't care a thing for conservatives. Their fight, though, is not about politics. Their desire is to see the message of Jesus Christ removed from this nation. And the Bible removed from your homes, the Bible removed from your life, the Bible removed from your faith, the Bible removed from the landscape of this country. It's not about conservatism. It's about faith. True faith in Jesus. That's what they're after. And they're far more destined to see that destroyed, because you can get a wishy-washy conservative in office and he don't really have true faith, and the left can control him and or her, and nothing's going to be much different between the right and the left. But you get somebody that loves Jesus and has moral character, moral fiber, you're seeing it to a degree with Trump. You're seeing it to a degree. When the righteous rule, the people rejoice. When the wicked rule, the people mourn. And that's what we're seeing tonight. All righty, listen, it's late. I think I've got my 3 cents in. Did you enjoy the show tonight? Thank you. Who was that said that? Great. The Great Hingy. Great show as always. I hope I said that right. Thank you. Thank you for that tonight. I thought it was a pretty daggum good show too. I thought it was a good show too tonight. Roger, you say that his influence will last long after he's gone. Roger, you got a lot of optimism, my friend. Did Joe Biden's influence last long after he's gone? Trump erased and turned everything that Joe Biden did around in just 2 weeks and a month, my friend. You not think a left-leaning president can do the same? He will do the same. He will do the same. I somewhat disagree with that. Trump's influence may last a while, but I'm going to tell you something. Roger, the world and the nations, including this one, is headed for Armageddon. It's headed for Armageddon. That's why we better take advantage of these 3 years. That's why we better not waste the time. We better redeem the time, for the days are evil, because our clock is ticking. Our clock is ticking. Because we're not headed for a utopia. And I disagree. I don't think Trump's influence is going to last. Look, what happened in 2020, Roger? He had 4 years. Did it last long? No. We were neck deep in socialism 1/2 year, 6 months into 2021. This country was under COVID lockdown by the left. And Trump was a distant memory. This is what makes his presidency such a miracle. And I'm Roger, I'm not taking personal issue with you, but I'm just your statement about his influence lasting longer. I disagree. No, we can't hope for that. We can't say, well, that'll happen, so maybe Trump can fix this. Folks, this is not on Trump. I don't think we learned a lesson. If that's how we feel, we didn't learn a lesson from 2020. Because we sat back and we said Trump will fix all this for us. We can't depend on Trump to fix it. We need to get involved in our government. We need to get involved in our local school boards and our local races. Because, Roger, to your point, I'll say it like this. For his influence to last, we the people have got to take up that same mantle, just like that young man did right there in that picture that lost his life for it. And we've got to become involved in this society, in this culture, as Christians, as people of faith. As people of faith. That is how the culture is going to change. And that's how it's going to last. Not by Trump. Even though I respect Trump and I love him and I think he deserves a lot of credit. I've done so many polls. This is the first night I've ever gotten 100%. That's why I ended it before somebody, just to be mean, went out there and put somebody else's name to mess my poll up. We had 100% agreement tonight that it was President Trump that deserves credit for the ceasefire. We'll see what happens from here. Listen. We'll be back tomorrow, of course, in the morning on our Faith Network. We've got Mark White coming tomorrow night, and we may try to squeeze a prayer event in. We may do it 30 minutes, have prayer meeting. Definitely a Bible study tomorrow night, talking about the rapture of the church. Come on back and be with us on all our networks. And Thursday night, we may have Ruth Goodenheim. We're supposed to have had her tonight, but Chris had a brain collapse today and forgot to interview her, and we're going to try to get that done before Thursday, and some other surprises in this week. And next week we will be on. I'm taking a few days off before we really hit it hard going into this last of the year and this election. We will have there will be sporadic shows next week, and then we'll be back to normal the week after. But we want to thank everybody that helps our show financially, folks. If you are getting something out of this and you'd like to donate, please do. You go to our website at themcfiles.org on how to do that, and spiritwordfire.com. Come on back, be with us tomorrow night, Faith Day on Wednesday, and then Thursday we'll be back. Friday we'll be back, maybe late, but we hope you have a great Tuesday night. It's almost going to be Wednesday. It's 5 to midnight, so I did get you out of here before midnight. God bless you. God bless your families. God bless this great nation of America. Happy birthday, Charlie. You're missed, young man. May his memory and his legacy live on in us, because we all are Charlie Kirk in many ways tonight. God bless you out there. Take care. Be safe. Take care of each other. Love each other out there. Love each other. Love each other. Prayers for Lane Wheeler tomorrow. Bless you all. Good night.